Great. Hey, so I want to thank everyone for joining us, at lunch on a Friday for this conversation. I'm Todd David, the Executive Director of the Housing Action Coalition. And over the last couple of years, there's just been some significant growth at our little organization. We've kind of have gone from a 2 to 3 person shop pretty quickly to a 6 to 8 person shop. And where we used to be, just solely concentrating in San Francisco, we really now have a presence throughout the Bay Area, and we're doing a significant amount of work, legislative work in Sacramento. And so when we speak to our members, we often, we got a lot of feedback when we were saying we were doing this, that, or the other, and they would say, we had no idea you guys did that. And so as our team grew, Kayla and Deborah thought that it would be really helpful to just host a, hey, what is HAC doing? And as members, how can you get the most out of your HAC membership? So we have an amazing panel of people today. Jessica Berg from Berg Davis is going to be moderating the panel. Jessica is on the board of the Housing Action Coalition, and certainly her firm is one of the firms that we do a lot of partnering and work with. And so she can also speak to that. But before we get started, I just thought it would be helpful so that everyone knows who is the HAC team right now. So we're just going to go around the room and just introduce all the different members of the Housing Action Coalition. They're going to start with Corey.
Hey everybody, Corey Smith, Deputy Director. Been with the org a little over 5 years now, concentrating a lot on the political advocacy pieces around the Bay Area.
Kayla.
Hi, I'm Kayla Barnes, Development Director with HAC, and I oversee our membership outreach as well as our events.
Deborah.
Hi everyone, I'm Deborah Schneider. I'm HAC's Communications Director, and I oversee all things communications. So I work closely with everyone on our team, and I'm ultimately responsible for everything that goes out the door and to all of you.
Nico.
Hey everyone, Nico Nagel, HAC's East Bay organizer. So anything in Alameda and Contra Costa County, I can be your contact for.
Jake.
Hi everyone, Jake Price. I am the Development and Operations Associate. I run the Project Review Committee, as well as the budget, just making sure everything happens in an orderly fashion.
And so that's our staff. In addition to our staff, we also really have a phenomenal cohort of interns who we really utilize to expand the capacity of the organization. So I think I see a few of them here. So I'm just going to ask them to say hello. Olivia.
Hello, Olivia. I'm HAC intern.
Adam.
Adam Jancic, also HAC intern.
And so, and I apologize, that's the only 2 interns I see on the, is anyone else here? Okay, great. Okay, so thanks. So with that, Jessica, I'm gonna turn it over to you to introduce the panel. And again, just thank you panelists who came to share your views on the organization. And thanks again for everyone for coming to learn more about how to get the most out of your membership.
Hey everybody, I'm Jessica Berg. I am the co-founder of Berg Davis Public Affairs. We have the privilege of working with many housing developers throughout Northern California and closely work with HAC on many of those efforts. They're just a fantastic partner when it comes to education, outreach, engagement, and mobilization. So I think there's really something at HAC for everyone, no matter what your role is in housing, whether you're new to it or have been around for a long time. I joined the board about 4 years ago, I believe, when Todd came on as executive director. He's right, there's been tremendous growth, notwithstanding Todd's questionable fashion choices. The organization continues to thrive and do good work throughout the region. So thank you again for joining us today. I'm going to ask each of our panelists to introduce themselves, and then we'll move into some questions. Adrian, would you like to say hello?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Not sure how much you want to get into. I was looking back, I realized that I started becoming engaged with the HAC more than a decade ago, which seems odd and strange to me, but is true. I'm a principal at Piatuck Architects in Oakland, and we focus on multifamily housing and are really best known for affordable housing and participatory design.
Thank you. Jay Bradshaw.
Hi, Jay Bradshaw with the Northern California Carpenters. It's great to be here today. Just want to reflect back a little bit. There's a long-term legacy relationship with the Carpenters in San Francisco with HAC, but also starting around 2009, if I remember right, the regional Carpenters, the Regional Council of Carpenters got more active and more involved, and we were very proud to be one of the founding members of the Bay HAC and just really value our partnership. And we work a lot with a lot of the members of HAC that are on this call today. So it's just good to see everybody. And we're really honored to be asked to be here today. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Jonathan Fearon.
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm Jonathan. I'm Senior Director of Development with Greystar Development. We are a national development firm, but we have a NorCal office, which I work for, and we do ground up high-density multifamily rental projects throughout the Bay Area. And I've personally been in HAC adjacent for a number of years. But as Greystar, we've recently been involved with more of the Bay HAC side to gain support in projects that we're doing down in the South Bay, particularly Menlo Park and Redwood City. And great to be here.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Last, Nora Collins. Nora, you look like you're muted.
Sorry, I am muted and I don't have my video working today. I've run into a couple issues. Nora Collins, Avalon Bay, got involved with HAC primarily in the last couple of years as we've been working through the Balboa Reservoir approval process. And honestly, HAC was instrumental in getting our approval this summer and been super appreciated.
Fantastic. Thanks so much. So our first question is for the group as a whole. And so feel free for anyone to jump in. We want to know, why is an organization like HAC important to you? And what is HAC's secret sauce that you think makes it such a valuable resource? Who wants to take it?
I'll jump in. Jay Bradshaw with the Carpenters. If I was going to sum it up, I would say, number one, great legacy track record of success. And also we find it that it's a great umbrella that brings in some of the most important players, if not the most important players in our industry, being construction. And we have a hyper focus as a labor organization on not only good job creation, but also providing more housing, as that crisis, like everyone, has hit the rank and file carpenter very hard. And we see HAC as part of that solution. And it also opens doors for collaboration with the other members of HAC that are engaged in our industry at various levels. So that really is the main reason and the main value we get out of HAC, which is tremendous.
I'd like to just quickly jump in, if I may, Joe Ola with NIBI. I just think that, given HAC's mission of, essentially advocating for housing at all levels of affordability is really key to the success of the organization, not only under Todd's tenure, but also Tim's. There's no other organization in the Bay Area that has a sole focus on housing. I mean, Spur obviously has their, piece of their overall, bag of tricks that they obviously focus on. But, HAC is solely focused on solving issues surrounding housing, getting housing approved, tackling tough regulatory issues. And I think just having just a wonderful group of leaders and members within the organization really truly has made our organization much different than any other.
Thanks, Joe.
I guess I can just chime in. I mean, I think, what stands out to me is really kind of the diverse, sophisticated, and knowledgeable staff and member base that kind of comes along with the HAC. We presented in front of the project review committee and got just really good, feedback, questions, and comments, made our presentation that we ultimately did to the city just a lot stronger, kind of given the how the committee poked at the project and the questions that they asked. And obviously housing comes with a lot of complexities and nuances, especially in the Bay Area. And so to have, a lot of good minds kind of focusing on that and having that in one room is extremely valuable.
Yeah, I mean, what I would add to this is that it's really about the intersection of all of these different participants in the development and construction community, and including neighborhood organizations, and the ability to connect all of these folks. It is so incredibly valuable to the members of the organization.
I'll just add one thing, which is I think there's also an opportunity for people who support housing but don't know a ton about it to learn a lot. So it's a great way for people who want to be pro-housing and personally get involved in that effort, which is certainly a growing effort, to learn about what's going on from a policy basis, from an activism basis, and to really get more entrenched in what what is happening around housing and housing advocacy throughout California. Jonathan, I'm going to ask you a question. How have you interacted with HAC staff, and can you describe your experience with HAC's project advocacy after a project is endorsed?
Yeah, so in my affiliation with Graystar, we went to the project review committee for a very large project we were working on in Redwood City. It was 540 units, 530,000 square feet of office, roughly 30,000 square feet of retail, 8,400 square foot childcare facility. And so, we came to the project review committee and got the endorsement. And as you can imagine, we got endorsements from a number of other groups as well. But what stood out from the HAC was that they really got engaged after that endorsement. And they did stuff like online petitions for support. They have members in the Redwood City community that they reached out to so they could come speak, which is extraordinarily important to have local residents on the ground come speak. So it was more than simply kind of writing a letter and showing up. And even with the showing up piece, our city council hearing was actually continued. We actually didn't get started until like 11 at night. It got continued. The HAC spoke and then came back and spoke again. So it's just it was just really the engagement afterwards was really key and really stood out from other project endorsement committees that I've been a part of.
Thanks so much. Nora, I'm going to put a similar question to you because I know you've also been involved in a big project. Can you share with us how Avalon Bay interacted with the HAC project advocacy?
Sure. So a little bit about, Avalon Bay and Bridge Housing were going after the Balboa Reservoir set of entitlements this past summer. And similar to what Jonathan just shared, once there was a kind of a petition out and we started pulling together a group of folks that were really interested in supporting the project, what was great is, usually during when you're going through the entitlement process, people aren't going to show up at only so many people can show up when you're going through and having when you're presenting to the Board of Supervisors because of the timing. And because we were able to have a really virtual drive that was really driven by the petition, we were able to get a lot of outreach from folks both in the neighborhood and outside of the neighborhood to support the project and building housing in San Francisco as a whole.
Terrific, thank you. I'm going to shift gears a little bit. Adrian, I might put you on the spot. If you think back to a time when we could meet in person, can you share a little bit about the in-person networking events that HAC has hosted and what value you might have found in those types of events?
Yeah, I laughed at myself a little bit when I realized I was going to get this question. I think Todd and Corey are poking a little fun at me because I always showed up to all of the networking events. If there was one happening, I was probably there. So for me, it was about the time before, like major speaker would come up to the stage. It was the hour and a half of the informal networking and being able to see folks that you might not be working with on a project right now, but you've worked with in the past, or they were colleagues at another office, and getting a sense of the direction of policy and the direction that development was heading was, I think, probably the most interesting part of most events that I attended, honestly, because of the interpersonal communication that was happening and the interpersonal relationship development that was happening. For me, also, I participated in Chamber of Commerce's Leadership San Francisco, and a lot of those folks were also getting involved in HAC at that time and participating in the sort of in-person networking events that we were having.
Thanks so much. I mean, I know that I too always enjoy that pre and post program time where you get to say hello to people, have it be a little bit more informal. I know there's also lots of events that are tours and happy hours and those types of things, which are not the big, so for those who don't know, HAC has a couple of big signature events every year, the Spring Symposium and the Housing Heroes. Those events are very large, very successful, but then there's also a series of smaller events normally throughout the year. So I don't know if anybody else on our panel has had experience with the tours or some of the smaller events that can speak to the value of those.
I mean, I can start us off too, talking about some of those tours of visiting our colleagues' projects and learning lessons from their experience. And as architects, of course, I'm walking around and looking at details and finishes and so on. But then at the after the tour part and the happy hour or the continued conversations with friends and neighbors and folks that you are just meeting for the first time, and developing relationships outside of just the HAC structure.
Great. Anybody else? All right, I'll move on. Jay, this next question is for you. This is a bit more of a policy related question. There's a lot of talk in the housing community about the merits of modular housing. And I know there's also disagreement within the trade unions themselves about how to treat modular moving forward. How would you describe HAC's approach to disagreements between these schools of thought?
Well, I mean, I think HAC as an organization has taken a great approach to it. I mean, there's certainly been, at least from my viewpoint, a view of volumetric or modular, if you like, construction as part of the solution, and going to our main mission as an organization to get more housing produced. I also think that HAC has done a good job of listening to all sides of this question. We certainly are very involved in it, but I think HAC has, taken a good stand on it, but also has entertained all views and listened to concerns that some members of HAC may have about it and the community as a whole. We certainly have been an open book to HAC on particularly what we've done with Factory OS and from the beginning and showing what we've done and had tours out there. And I think the collaboration has been very good. We also have had some experience with projects that were not going to happen, that both Todd and HAC and myself and the Carpenters were looking at how we can get these projects moving again. This goes back a few years and it's been a good solution there. And when you look at what we've been able to do, and a lot of it with support of HAC as well, on a lot of the housing that's coming into SF that's volumetric, aimed, I think it's about 80% or plus, either inclusionary or for the homeless. And so that's been a very positive development in modular construction, and that everyone's been able to get behind pretty well. So but as far as to the question specifically, I think HAC has navigated it very well. And that opinions here are respected, and then we come together and, HAC takes a position on a particular project or approach, but he does it with a critical thought and looking out not just tomorrow, but the day after tomorrow too.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say that's been my experience as well with other issues. You know, one of the committees that HAC has is the Ballot Analysis Committee, and all members are allowed to participate in these kinds of committee discussions. But you know, once or twice a year, whomever is interested comes together to talk about all the different measures that are up for a vote around the Bay and up in Sacramento, and we take a position on those measures. And I found the conversations very thoughtful. And what I really appreciated is that people tend to put aside some of their personal interests and really think through things in terms of a pro-housing lens. So even though we might all have clients' interests, opinion, which diverge somewhat, I found a commonness in the way people think about, well, what is the best answer to this question if our ultimate goal is to get as much housing produced for California as possible. And I think that that purity of intention is really seen throughout HAC's work and how people think about some of these issues. And that's certainly true for modular housing. Any other panelists have thoughts they want to share in terms of interesting issues that they've seen HAC navigate, or moments when they have, you know, seen sort of divergent opinions come together to you know, find common ground? All right.
Well, I was gonna add, I realized, I was looking back, one of the ways that I was engaging with the Housing Action Coalition early on was in the commentary and response and feedback to the housing element that was done in 2012. I forget the year. But you know, San Francisco's just about to update their housing element again. And I think this is another opportunity for HAC to influence the conversation and for members to participate in that.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. All right. The next area I want to talk about is I want to ask everyone what an additional service or area of improvement might be for HAC in terms of, you know, services they could provide to members or things that they could do better. And I've thought about this, and I'm gonna spring it on the HAC staff right now. And it's not really something I think they could do better, but I think it's a new service that could be provided. I want us to think about, which is providing counsel to all of the many small cities and pro-housing groups that are forming in these cities as they look to navigate the new regional housing allocation numbers. I'm just hearing a lot of talk where people know this is coming, but for some of these smaller cities and the housing advocates in their communities, they don't even really know where to begin and what the options are going to be in terms of how to change policy, pursue dialogue, all of that around these complicated housing conversations. So I'll throw that out there as a note for the HAC team to think about. But I wanted to ask, are there any other ideas of things that you'd like to see HAC offer? And anyone who else is on the call, feel free to chime in. Things you'd like to see HAC offer, ways you think HAC could improve its services for members.
Yeah, I guess I'll just kind of build off what you were saying, because it's kind of the thing that popped in my head. I mean, it really is, you know, kind of borne out by my experience, is that, you know, the kind of the emphasis we're putting more on regionalism, and, you know, we're already seeing kind of HAC doing it already with their expansion into the East Bay, and, you know, what they're doing in the South Bay, but certainly, you know, building up that, you know, membership base and kind of network outside of San Francisco, and really kind of explaining to folks, you know, what regionalism is, how it affects them, why it's important. You know, I think it's going to be, you know, really key as we go forward. You know, we have things that are now, you know, available to us, like BAFA, that was created, you know, for affordable housing around the region, that, you know, we really need good, smart advocacy around, and they are looking for guidance from. So I would just encourage, you know, the amplification of the effort around regionalism as HAC looks forward.
Great. Any board members have ideas on this? I see Dan and Jacob and Joe, and I'm sure there's others that I'm missing. I'm curious if anybody else has any ideas on, new services or things you'd like to see happen.
I don't know that it's new, Jessica, but I think one thing that we've talked about with the degree of frequency is just enhancing the communication aspect of the HAC and educating people. And I think that's certainly been a focus of Todd and everybody on staff. But I think that's certainly, one area, if any, that, perhaps can be enhanced, whether it's social media or otherwise, I suppose.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. And I know Deborah is all over that. So
yeah, exactly.
Lots of good things this year. Yeah. Jacob, I saw you unmute for a second. Did you have something you wanted to add?
Yeah, it was more of a comment. I mean, Joe kind of touched on it, but Deborah's been doing a fantastic job. Just tip my hat off to the team at HAC for really making things available. Education, as well as the project review, being able to take part in that, and Corey handling RegCom. I mean, I think overall, the census, I imagine amongst the board members and the team here, and whoever's partaking on the call, is that HAC, BHAC are a great resource and a great organization to be part of. So great job, guys.
Great, thank you. I might open this question up to the HAC staff. If people are newer to HAC or they've been around for a while but are wanting to increase their activity, what's the best way for people to get involved? Is there somebody in particular they should email? Is there, how can they go about that?
I'll jump in. Kayla, Development Director. Ideally, all emails can come to me if you have questions about membership, and then I can direct you to the right person on our staff to get you on the right mailing list for our project review committee, regulatory committee, or ballot analysis committee.
Great.
I would add to that. Oh,
go ahead, Deborah.
Sure. So I would add to that, please read your email from us. So, we've got our weekly newsletter, that comes out every Tuesday morning. We've got we just started in January, a new members only monthly email that gives an overview of what's to come for the month ahead and how to make the most of your membership that way and how to plug in and connect with us. And that'll always include everybody's contact info as well. And so, yeah, I would say reading our communications would be excellent. And then always just reach out, with ideas. As you can see, we're not a large lumbering bureaucracy, nameless, faceless organization. Like everybody on the team's right here, and we really want to hear from you. So please take advantage of that.
Yeah, and I would add that, we are an organization, kind of our DNA, our cultures. We want to say yes to our members. Like that is our default of being like, when a member needs something, we say yes, and then we try to figure out how to best get that done. So it's always helpful when we hear from members as to what they need. And so we really encourage as much as possible reaching out to me or to Corey. We have this project, or we have a problem with a piece of legislation that needs fixing. I think one of the biggest compliments that I remember receiving over the last year is I was talking to Andrew Junius of Reuben Junius and Rose, and we've just grown so much over the last couple of years. And Andrew said, Todd, there just are so few people that I can talk to on Monday, and there is an amendment to a piece of legislation in Sacramento on Wednesday. It's just like that is just so valuable. And so, and it's like, to me, it's just us doing our job, but we don't know what amendment is needed unless we get the phone call and said, hey, there's a problem here. Can you help us fix that? So, just please reach out to us with what you need to be successful in the pro-housing world, and we will do our best to figure out how to get that done.
To reiterate that point, nobody on staff has any formal training as a developer, as an architect, or an urban planner. We literally have zero in-house expertise about all of that. So we really, really rely on all of you to bring those items to us. We've learned over time, but once you get into the nitty-gritty details and especially our board members know because they get calls from us going, what is this? I don't understand. Explain it to me in normal human speak. And so just really reiterating that all of you bringing stuff to us, we're not asking you of all the answers, but at least just that initial flag is tremendously helpful and allows us to be most successful that way.
Great. I would also add that people don't need to only come to us when there's a problem. So if you have a great idea for a lunchtime forum, or eventually for a tour, or you want to start some sort of new effort, we'll probably ask you to volunteer to help out with that. But I think any of those ideas are great. And so we would certainly don't just come to us if there's a problem. Come if you have a great idea that you want to try to get going. It's a very welcoming group of team members, and so all ideas are most welcome. Okay, well, I feel like we have covered it pretty well. I would ask our panelists perhaps, what their elevator pitch might be. So if someone was considering whether or not to join HAC, what in 30 seconds, what would you say is the best way to, how would you convince somebody about that? Jay, you're unmuted. I'll let you go.
All right, sounds good. Well, if I was going to make a pitch for someone to get involved in HAC, again, circling back to what I said earlier, I think a track record of success and continued growth. And again, when you're looking at housing production, it takes all these different players, labor, development, finance, the political side, and it's the most efficient umbrella out there, and it gets stuff done. And so it's not just words. I could show exact examples, real examples of where HAC's been influential with legislation, projects getting improved, and bringing real housing production in. So I think that's our biggest selling point, is a track record of success, and it takes all of us to do that, and we want more people involved in that. I could give carpenter stories for a long time about that, but I won't take everyone's time. But HAC's been tremendously helpful for us in our goals as a labor organization too.
Thanks, Jay. Nora, did you have something to add?
Sure, yeah. Why I think it's my elevator pitch for HAC from a development standpoint, not only do they help strengthen your project as you go through the project approval committee, but they're also just really well connected in the community and can help connect you with folks who might be interested in supporting your project that you haven't been able to find.
Fantastic.
I guess I can just add, I didn't want to second all the things that fellow panelists have just said, but I guess, I get questions a lot from folks to say, how do I find out about housing issues? And I think, what I tell them is, certainly I bring up, HAC, because I said, if you're trying to, either understand the core issues around housing in the Bay Area, or just kind of wanting to be on the cutting edge of, the latest thinking around housing and the latest policy developments around housing, HAC is just a great thing to plug into to really get that and get up to speed, very quickly, and then plug into what really is the housing community in the Bay Area and the folks that are really doing the work. So that's what I would say.
Thank you. Okay. Adrienne, were you about to go? I didn't want to cut you off.
No, all I was going to say was ditto.
Okay, fantastic.
Thank you all for joining us. We'll be emailing this out. Thanks so much. Have a good afternoon. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Everyone.